On July 19th, IShowSpeed opened the World Cup final. And by the time he walked off, the internet had decided he faked it. A 2026 Milli Vanilli concert. The most lip-synced event of all time. Here's what nobody yelling that checked. That day, he was the fourth most obvious one out there. Here's the thing. Nearly every act on that field was on some kind of track. That part isn't in dispute. So why was it only him? There's an actual answer. 9 rungs. Every act in that stadium, 35 years of ceremonies, one scandal from before you were born. At the top, the man who produced the most famous live performance in American history tells you what actually happened that day. He opened with World Cup, Diao Champions, backed by drummers and dancers. The songs on the official FIFA album, credited, lead vocals, legal name. That's him. On the record, in a booth, unambiguously singing. Hold that credit, it matters later. Worst lip-syncing performance of all time. FIFA kicks off the finals with a lip-syncing contest. Clock what's getting named. Not the production, not FIFA. Him. Thousands of posts. All of them people watching a mouth and deciding. Start with the insult itself, because almost nobody throwing it knows what it means, and because not live isn't one accusation. It's 3. Full playback, the vocal is a record, the mic is a prop. A live vocal writing a pre-recorded instrumental, or pre-recorded backing vocals under a live lead, which is on every stadium show you've paid for. The internet called all 3 fake and assumed the worst one. Nobody has ever said which Speed was. So here's the one it actually accused him of. Milli Vanilli were 2 models fronting songs recorded by other people. At a live MTV show, the backing tape jammed and repeated the same lyric over and over, and that was the beginning of the end. In November 1990, their producer admitted their voices weren't anywhere in the catalog. The Recording Academy revoked their Best New Artist award, the only time it has ever done that. So the crime was not being on the record. Speed is on the record. Credited lead vocals on FIFA's own album. Whatever happened on that field, the one comparison everybody reached for is the one that factually doesn't fit. Post Malone headlined the same ceremony, brought out Swae for Sunflower, got the identical treatment. One reply. They could have tried harder to make it look real. Another called Swae the worst lip-syncing they'd ever seen, and said even Speed did it better. And understand what song they were accused over. Sunflower is the first single the RIAA ever certified double diamond. 20 times platinum. The most certified song in history. The man who made it stood on that field, got accused of the exact same thing, and it was gone by Tuesday. Same stage, same hour, worse reviews. Sit with that for a second. The internet watched 2 grown men on that field and decided the guy who got roasted hardest was the one who did it best. And then it died in the replies because a rapper on a track is a Tuesday. Speed had headlines by Monday morning. 2 hours later, halftime. The replies, literally every living soul knows Shakira is just lip-syncing. Why even hold that mic? She's been holding that mic for 20 years. 20. Nobody has ever made a video about it. Nobody's made a compilation. Nobody's counting. Speed held one for 90 seconds and it's still going. And this isn't her first one. Count the tournaments she's performed at. Germany, 2006, South Africa 2010, Brazil 2014, and now 2026, where she did the opening ceremony at the Azteca and the final at MetLife. 4 World Cups, 20 years. Same complaint every time. Same outcome every time. Which is nothing. 4 tournaments deep, and the accusation has never cost her a single booking. FIFA keeps calling her back. Madonna opened the halftime show out of a subway tunnel, flanked by Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. Within a day, the same accusation was running about her segment. So pick a side. Right now, before I tell you the rest, if the track is running, and everyone in the building knows, and it's worked that way for 35 years, is that lying to you, or is that just how a stadium works? Comments, because this isn't her first one either. Super Bowl, 2012. The AP's own write-up called it a lip-synced performance. Flat out, no hedging. That show pulled 114 million viewers, most watched halftime in Super Bowl history, bigger than the game it interrupted. Openly mimed in front of the biggest audience the format has ever had. And 14 years later, FIFA handed her the World Cup final anyway. So whichever way you just landed, land on it for both of them. That's the only rule here. The internet had 14 years to pick a side on Madonna and picked one on Speed in about 4 hours. 4 hours. Madonna got accused in 2012 and again in 2026, and it has never once slowed her down. February, Kid Rock gets accused of the same thing, so he goes on Fox News to deny it. His defense? He was out of sync with his DJ, that he'd told the team the rough cut was off. Read that back. He denied lip-syncing by confirming the thing was taped. Now the other end of the register. Yo-Yo Ma, 2009, asked about hand-syncing his cello. His answer? The instruments weren't working in 19-degree weather. The most respected musician alive and a guy defending himself on Fox News, both miming one day of story each. Speed has never had a rough cut in his life. That's the whole premise of the channel. Beyoncé, biggest singer alive. Same accusation 13 years earlier. January 21st, 2013. Which, and I promise I did not plan this, was Speed's 8th birthday. Presidential inauguration. The Marine Band tells reporters she wasn't singing live and it's a national story overnight. 10 days later, she walks into a press conference, asks the room to stand, and sings it live, a cappella, to shut everyone up. And then says it out loud. She chose to sing along with her pre-recorded track, which she called very common in the music industry. Very common. Her words. She got to say them at a press conference on her terms, and everyone moved on. Beyoncé got a room full of microphones and a chance to answer. Speed got 3 weeks of people deciding for him. The Marine Band. The actual United States Marine Band. On tape. For decades. Same day, same ceremony, same 8th birthday. And not one video about it. Here's the line nobody ran with. A Marine Band spokesperson said all music for inaugural ceremonies is pre-recorded as a matter of course, and had been for years. And nobody ran it because there was no one to be angry at. A band isn't a person. You can't quote tweet the United States Marine Band, not a scandal. A standing policy, freezing temperatures, equipment failure, instruments going out of tune. So the actual United States Marine Band has been on tape for decades and nobody's made a single video about it. Not one. Now look at what Speed was standing in. Pyro. A marching band, a stadium going insane. If the Marine Band won't risk it standing still in a car park, nobody was risking it out there. Jennifer Hudson. She has an Oscar, a Grammy, an Emmy, and a Tony. She did it too, 2009. Speed was 4, 2009 Super Bowl. Jennifer Hudson's anthem, pre-recorded according to the producer who ran it. Faith Hill's America the Beautiful, same show, same deal. Hold that name. 2 of the biggest voices in America, on the biggest broadcast of the year, and the producer just says it plainly. That's how it's done. Because who sang the American National Anthem at MetLife on July 19th, about 20 minutes before Speed got called a fraud? Jennifer Hudson. Same stadium, same afternoon, not one post. An EGOT winner did it in the same building on the same day, and the entire internet went for the 21-year-old instead. Wild. Hudson never had to explain herself because nobody asked her either. Difference is, nobody called her a fraud for 3 weeks first. Top of the ladder. Whitney Houston, the best there's ever been at this. 1991, 14 years before Speed was born. Tampa, January 1991, 10 days into the Gulf War. Whitney Houston sings the anthem, and it becomes, by basically universal agreement, the greatest version anyone has done. The music was pre-recorded. So was the vocal. She sang into a dead microphone, the greatest live vocal ever recorded in this country, and the mic was a prop. Sit with that for a second. Her musical director made that call, a man named Ricky Minor. Years later, somebody asked him about it. He said he could have claimed it was live. But at some point you stop glossing it over, and there's no doubt she sang it. So, she sang live, but they used the track for the audio. The most beloved live performance in American history, and the man who built it says flat out the audio was a track. That's 9 rungs. Not one of them is Speed. So, before the answer, clear one thing off the table. Which of those 3 categories was he in? Nobody knows because nobody has said. FIFA hasn't commented. No audio analyst has published anything. There is no forensic verdict here, and anyone selling you one is guessing. And Speed has never addressed the audio because in 3 weeks of this, not one person asked him. The Independent asked FIFA. The Independent asked his team. Nobody asked him. So here's the actual answer to why it was only him. What is confirmed is everything around him. Post Malone, Swae, Shakira, Madonna, Kid Rock, Yo-Yo Ma, Beyoncé, the Marine Band, Jennifer Hudson, Faith Hill, Whitney Houston. 11 names across 9 rungs. Every one of them confirmed, admitted, or accused. Not one of them got what he got. No headlines, no think pieces, no 3-week cycle. And the one name the internet actually reached for, the one I opened this ladder with, doesn't belong with them at all. Milli Vanilli's crime was not being on the record. He's 21 and his name is printed on FIFA's. Every other name on that ladder had an edit button their whole career. Speed built his without one. So the first time he used it, he was the only one whose audience had never seen him use anything. So next time you catch a mic at a stadium, don't ask whether it's live. Ask why you only checked this one. Which is worse, the track or who you noticed it on? That Milli Vanilli post is still up, aimed at the only one on that ladder whose name is printed on FIFA's own album. And if you're wondering how he got on that stage at all, he posted at FIFA asking them to take his song. FIFA replied, "That video's next. Subscribe so you actually see it."